The biggest mistake new investors are making right now on the Nigerian stock market is chasing a particular stock after it had already moved or increased to a particular point. You see a stock trending, for example, GTCO, Accessco, Dangote Cement, Lafarge Wapco, because they're like the top winners from the last week report. You decided to buy because everyone is talking about it. Not because you understand the business, but because you don't want to miss out. And what happened next? A small pullback and panic setting. You sell. Or worse, you hold without conviction. Most investors are not reacting to the headlines. They are studying fundamental companies, entering before the crowd, and holding with a clear plans. Because on the Nigerian stock market, timing without strategy is gambling. So before your next trade, ask yourself, am I investing based on value or just noise? Because in the Nigerian stock market, disciplines will always outperform emotion. Visit us on www.leadcapitalgroupng.com or download the Lead Trader app on your App Store or your Play Store to get started. Toodles. The biggest mistake new investors are making right now on the Nigerian stock market is chasing a particular stock after it had already moved or increased to a particular point. You see a stock trending, for example, GTCO, Accessco, Dangote Cement, Lafarge Wapco, because they're like the top winners from the last week report. You decided to buy because everyone is talking about it. Not because you understand the business, but because you don't want to miss out. And what happened next? Panic setting. You sell. Or worse, you hold without conviction. Most investors are not reacting to the headlines. They are studying fundamental companies, entering before the crowd, and holding with a clear plans. Because on the Nigerian stock market, timing without strategy is gambling. So before your next trade, ask yourself, am I investing based on value or just noise? Because in the Nigerian stock market, disciplines will always outperform emotion. Visit us on www.leadcapitalgroupng.com or download the Lead Trader app on your App Store or your Play Store to get started. Toodles. The biggest mistake new investors are making right now on the Nigerian stock market is chasing a particular stock after it had already moved or increased to a particular point. You see a stock trending, for example, GTCO, Accessco, Dangote Cement, Lafarge Wapco, because they're like the top winners from the last week report. You decided to buy because everyone is talking about it. Not because you understand the business, but because you don't want to miss out. And what happened next? A small pullback and panic setting. You sell. Or worse, you hold without conviction. Most investors are not reacting to the headlines. They are studying fundamental companies, entering before the crowd, and holding with a clear plans. Because on the Nigerian stock market, timing without strategy is gambling. So before your next trade, ask yourself, am I investing based on value or just noise? Because in the Nigerian stock market, disciplines will always outperform emotion. Visit us on www.leadcapitalgroupng.com or download the Lead Trader app on your App Store or your Play Store to get started.
A very good morning to you, our listeners and lead investors. I want to welcome you to another edition of our Monday morning breakfast session. I am Akinyemi Omotayo, and joining me this morning is Mr. Akolade Taufik.
Good morning, sir. Good morning, brother.
Okay, this morning we'll be taking a snapshot of the fixed income space, our expectations for the week, and also our product offering recommendations for our money market and treasury bills. For our key market indicators, by the close of the week, the open repo rate and overnight rates stood at 22% and 22.20 respectively. Meanwhile, system liquidity declined on a week-on-week basis, settling at 3.97 trillion naira. This contraction was largely driven by settlement obligations arising from the OMO bills and NTB primary market auction. Shifting focus to the recent NTB auction, the Central Bank of Nigeria offered a total of 750 billion worth of instruments. Demand was notably strong, with subscriptions reaching 1.61 trillion, indicating a significant oversubscription. In response, the bank allotted 894.16 billion. Notably, stock rates remained unchanged across all tenors, closing flat. From an investor perspective, the strong demand alongside unchanged stock rates suggests persistent liquidity in the system and continued appetite for short-term government securities, even in the absence of yield expansion. Turning to the Treasury bill secondary market, the Treasury bill secondary market closed the week on a bearish note as yields trended upwards following sell-offs observed across the curve. In the aftermath of the NTB auction, investors continue to demand higher yields, reinforcing the prevailing bearish sentiment. Overall, average yields increased by 13 basis points to close at 17.63%. This upward movement suggests that shifts in investors' expectations, with market participants repricing risk and seeking more attractive returns, particularly in light of recent primary market dynamics. Taking a quick look at the bond market, the FGN bond secondary market closed the week on a bearish note, reversing the gains recorded in the preceding week as sustained sell-side pressure dominated market activity. Trading conditions were largely driven by heightened offers across the curve, with most significant impact observed in the short and mid segments, where increased selling interest led to broad-based decline in prices and corresponding upward adjustments in yields. This movement implies that bond prices weakened over the period while yields rose in response to the increased supply and reduced demand, reflecting a more cautious investor sentiment in the market. On a tenor basis, yields advanced by average of 12 basis points on the short end of the curve, while increasing by an average of 5 basis points across the mid to long end of the curve. This across-the-board movement in yields reflects sustained selling pressure, with the short end experiencing the most pronounced adjustments. The 2028, the 2029, the 2030, 2031, 2034, 2035, and 2049 maturities were the most actively traded instruments over the course of the week, attracting the bulk of market activities across the curve. Overall, average yields across the benchmark bonds declined by 10 basis points to settle at 15.90%, reflecting a mild ease in market yields over the period. For the foreign exchange market, the Naira witnessed a slight decline in value as we saw a negative 1.1% change in the official NAFEM window, closing the week at 1,358 Naira 44 kobo. And we also witnessed the primary market closing flat at 1,390 Naira. What is our outlook for the week? This week, funding rates are expected to remain broadly stable at current levels over the near term, provided there are no significant outflows from the system that could disrupt the existing balance. Looking ahead, the Treasury bill secondary market is expected to trade on a firmer footing, supported by healthy system liquidity. Also, the FGN bond secondary market is expected to trade on a steady footing, broadly in line with prevailing system liquidity conditions. And lastly, geopolitical tensions in the Middle East between the US, Israel, and Iran continue to linger as efforts towards a ceasefire remain ongoing. These external pressures have contributed to global inflammatory concerns, with some spillover effects reflected in Nigeria's March inflation data. Going forward, this development is likely to remain a key consideration in Monetary Policy Committee in its policy decisions, particularly in balancing inflation risk and macroeconomic stability. In line with the current market dynamics, we believe that now is an opportune time for our lead investors to take strategic positions. We encourage you to leverage on our market insights to capitalize on emerging opportunities. Our platform offers a diverse range of products and services that can be tailored to meet your investment objectives. From our suite to fixed income products to other investment solutions, we are confident that our offerings can help you navigate the market and achieve your financial goals. From our lead fixed income fund, which is a low-risk option prioritizing capital preservation and growth, offering stable yields with biannual dividend payments and a 90-day lockdown period, up to our lead balance fund, providing a balanced investment approach, diversifying across high-quality stocks and fixed income instruments with flexible dividend options. For investors seeking a low-risk fixed income return option, consider our Gazelle option, offering competitive rates for 90 to 365 days with competitive growth. And to also hedge against our Naira depreciation, our Eurobond trading platform offers investments in US dollar denominated debt instruments with biannual coupon payments, requiring a minimum of subscription of $200,000. We also have our lead dollar fund, which offers a more accessible dollar investment option with a minimum subscription of $1,000 and a 180-day holding period, providing biannual dividend payments at an attractive annualized yield. We encourage our lead investors to reach out to us to discuss how these options would fit into your investment strategy. That being said, permit me to hand you over to our in-house equities analyst, Mr. Kolade Taufik, to give us insights on the equities market and what we expect for the week. Mr. Kolade, over to you.
Thank you, Mr. Akinyemi. Thank you for giving us the insight into the fixed income market. Value-led investors, once again, good morning. We'll be taking you through the equities market, but I would like to make this important announcement that effective from today, Nigerian exchange trading hours is changing from 9:30. We used to have 9:30 to 2:30 for trading hours, but currently the exchange has secured approval from the IPES regulator, that's Securities and Exchange Commission, to extend the trading hours between the period of 9 a.m. and then to 4 p.m. So all value investors, we have opportunity to trade between 9 a.m. and then to 4 p.m. So the market can react. You can take advantage of information that can also guide your investment decision. So within those periods, we have actually mentioned you can send your money who execute. For all our clients that are also using our lead traders, anytime from 9 o'clock to 4 p.m., you also have opportunity to take advantage of the trading with the new trading platform. It's to deepen the market and for the Nigerian to also align with global standard. If you look at other exchanges in the world, the UK Stock Exchange, London Stock Exchange, and New York Stock Exchange, they trade between hours of 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. looking at our own local time. And the same thing for the London Stock Exchange, New York Stock Exchange, 9:30 to 4:30. We are gladly aligned with the global standard. Thank you. So having said that, I also like us to stay true to maintain this outline for our equities market section, the review of equities market. We have also actually updated our audited and unaudited earnings for 2025. Investors delight for the week, analyze dividends, yes, weekly recommendation, dividend qualifications window to guide the investor to be able to track the day they are going to receive their dividend, our expectations, and then our outlook for the week. In terms of NGX performance for the week ended 24, we could see from this graph that a strong relationship between the NGX 30 and the broad-based index, that is the NGX main index. The cost of last week, we saw upward movement in the NGX 30 and then the broad-based index occasion and driven by the investor sentiment across highly capitalized stocks due to the strong corporate actions and other factors that are actually contributed. We've also seen some companies also sending their Q1 results. So investors are not actually waiting to start taking position when they see the quarter two result. At least the quarter one result is going to give them the overview of what other quarter is going to look like. So investors started taking position, which is the main reason why we saw uptick and movement in the ASI and the NGX 30 in the course of last week. And then looking at this other graph is actually to be able to also ascertain what has been the performance of the NGX for the month of April to date. We've seen that this is just to talk about the technical concepts around the ASI within the month of April. We could see that the market has actually broken various resistance level. We've seen that in the 1st of April, market also broke resistance level and then also moved to the April 9th, April 15th, and then up to date, leading to increase in the ASI basis point to 225,724.33 basis points. People are taking position because of several reasons. We've seen banking recapitalization. We've also seen stability in foreign exchange markets. Inflation is also deflating. Investors and value investors are also considering some of these variables, indicators that they are likely to help companies to deliver good results in the Q1, in the Q2, and the subsequent quarters. So people are not waiting to see other quarter results. We've seen Boa Cement. They've been able to grade their earnings. We've also seen Unilever. We've seen Berger Paint. We've seen other companies within the world, within the market. Investors consider those things as the drivers for them to be able to take advantage of the current market price, and some of these companies are also very undervalued. So this is just to give us an overview of what transpired in the course of month of April. And they're also looking at this graph, is also speaking to the technical analysis of the market performance from January to date, so the month of April. We've also seen that market has actually witnessed and broken several resistance levels because of the strong buying interest among leading sectors within the Nigerian economy. So we've seen that the ASI started in the month of January around 155,000 basis points. Now, ASI has returned almost 45.56%, and then there is still more room for growth as companies, as markets continue to witness a good performance from the Q1 and audited and unaudited results from some of the companies that are still pending in terms of a corporate action declaration. So this is just to tell us that market is also moving because the key variables are really driving the equities market. So let's continue to monitor the market and take advantage of undervalued stock based on Lead Capital weekly and monthly and quarterly stock recommendations. In terms of the quantity traded for the week ended 2024, we could see that financial service also cornered 72%. We saw service industry because of a position taking in MTN and other companies under that sector driving the market. Why 5% is also consumer. We saw the likes of Unilever because of their plans to also invest in the international global company to increase their tentacle are also great for earnings. We saw PZ climbing up. We saw NASCON also improving in their prices, leading to improvement in the various indices under the capital coverage, 5% for the consumer, while other, which also exclude financial service sector and consumer, also accounting for 18% of the entire pie chart. While in terms of the market overview for the last week, we also saw that the market ASI returned 3.94% week on week, where year-to-date result has currently surpassed current inflation. An investor, any rational investor that wants to determine their real rate of return that is deflated of inflation, you should be looking at almost over 30% in terms of rate of return, which is also very good. We'll continue to advise investors to take advantage of the value stock in the equities market. While in terms of the turnover, we saw higher volume and higher turnover in the course of last week, 3.8 billion shares traded, worth to 13 billion. This will be one of the highest volume and highest value traded the world in the month of April. When you compare that to what we had in the previous week, it was higher from 3.81% to from 3.5% in terms of volume to 3.81%. While in terms of value, we also had 3.96 billion or 3.96 billion as compared to 195.3 billion naira that exchanged out in the previous week, indicating that investors are still taking position in the markets. There are more patronage across all the companies that are also leading within the market. Financial sector again led activities, combination of insurance and the banking recapitalization. Now the coast is now clear. People now know the banks that can withstand the test of time. So that is actually one of the reasons why we saw improvements in the world in the financial service industry. 2.7 billion accounting for almost 71.9% in terms of the volume, while in terms of value 49.64%. While service industry and the consumer industry also had turnover of 4.02 billion, while consumer also had 13.27 billion. These are the major three sectors that actually contributed to the volume. In terms of key tickers that actually contributed to the most trading volume, the three were banking industry, Access Bank, United Bank, and then the First HoldCo. And looking at their contribution, 21.04% and then 18.24%. But more importantly, all the sectors under Lead Capital coverage, major sectors in the market, major indices, they all recorded positive. We saw MGS Banking expanded by 6.1%. NGS Insurance for the first time also expanded for 0.4%. NGS Consumer 5.25%, NGS Industrial 7.7%. More bar interest led to that in Dangote Cement and Lafarge, and then the CAP. Why oil and gas had marginal expansion of 0.86%. But the good thing is that year-to-date of oil and gas in the entire indices is currently stood at 9.55%. We saw strong bar interest around Arade and then a surplus due to geopolitical tension in the Middle East between Iran, Israel, and the US. So these are the companies that also operate in the upstream, which are the reasons why investors are also taking strong position in the markets. And coming back to the snapshot of the unaudited results, so we continue to update. For the last week, we saw UBA audited accounts released to the market, and we saw a decline in their profit after tax by 47.2%, while earnings per share has actually gone down from 21.73 kobo to 9.66 kobo. It dropped or it declined by 55.5%. Looking at the earnings of that company, they actually grew their earning very well. But in terms of a provision and the foreign exchange losses, we saw that over $140 billion or 140 billion naira, when you convert that into the exchange rate, into the naira, and then they also made loan provision over 300 billion. They are also trying to clean their balance sheet. just to also follow the pattern of the First Bank. First Bank has cleaned their balance sheet, and then now it looks clean. So we are expecting the Q1 from First Bank. I think UBA are also trying to good things is that this bank has actually recapitalized and it has repositioned. I've been looking at the result. If you look at the result very well, you could see that they are still making money from their offshore subsidiaries, and they are from the also core banking business. If not for the fact that the loan provisions and the exchange losses actually affected their balance sheet. The house, while other companies that have actually, we haven't seen the audited account, is still undergoing a regulatory approval because of the capitalization. We also continue to keep you informed, but this is the overview of audited and the snapshot of the one we have seen. Looking at our top investors delights for the week, we are changing recommendation this week. We only have 9 top investors delight stock. GTB still form part of our top highly recommended stock for the week. Dangote Cement, Seplat Energy, MTN, with 7 Portland Cement, that's Lafarge, Unilever, Nigerian Breweries, and then United Capital, and then Name Insurance. These are the 9 top investors they like to call for the lead capital. So you can take advantage of that. They cut across industrial, oil and gas, telecom, industrial, other financial service, and then consumer. In terms of a second layer of recommendation, where we also have an extended buy, sell, and hold recommendation, PZ, MTN, Zenith Bank, Cornerstone, Cadbury, Name Insurance, Better Glass, Wema Bank, and Ansa Masa, and Eternal Oil. They are part of our recommendations, in addition to the top investors in livestock, while the likes of Fitson, Custodian, First Bank, NACO, NASCON, Ukomo Oil, UACN, Bua Cement, and we're also placing them on old recommendation. The likes of Lasaco, IMG, Cornoy, Girigo, Transcorp Hotel, Dangote Sugar, and DNMA, a paint company, are recommended for sale for the new week. In terms of top investor, schedule of analyzed dividends hunting, we'll continue to update this slide as we are approaching the dividend payment day, and then we'll continue to update the house. This is the top newly computed analyzed dividends yields for investors that really wanted cash flow in terms of analyzed dividends yields. I think you can take advantage of some of those companies whose dividends window or qualification days are still open. Better Glass, Stanbic, ICO, Master Insurance, Name Insurance, Bua Cement, Dangote Cement, and the RRD result is not out. We made a projection of 30 Naira. Bua Food is out, Okomo Oil is out. We are anticipating Presco, why NACO is also out. We see the analyzed dividends. So some are giving 10, 15, 20, even some above 30%, depending on the day they are going to pay. So you can take advantage of that. This is an instruction from the general list recommendation our research team sent out this morning. We are maintaining for our buy recommendation 1 to 20 is part of our buy recommendation. We have repeated some of these things, but we have UPDC, CWG, Seplat, Eternal Oil, and then WAPCO as buy recommendation. Y21 to 31, the likes of RRD, ICO, Custodian, Stanbic, UPA, and Vitafood. We'll place them on hold. We'll continue to monitor the market and advise the house when there's need for them to change them from sell or to buy and moving it from the current old position. While the likes of Corner, Girigo, Fitson, and Lasaco, they are also part of our sell recommendations for the new week. This is for you to be able to track dividends payments. Those rows in green color, they've closed. You can't take advantage of that. You can track dividends payments. This week, NGS is going to, this month, NGS is going to pay, Lafarge will pay, Girigo will pay, NASCON will pay. And then CIP paid last week, and then GTCO is also going to pay. Zenith Bank will pay on 5th of May, 2026. Those in the blue color, investors can also take advantage of that because the windows are still open to qualify for the dividends. In terms of our weekly expectation, last week, NGS market closed on a positive note for the 4th week. The bullish sentiment was also driven by investors taking position because of the results we have seen from the highly capitalized stocks posting good results. People are taking position. Results announced last week include that of Transcorp Hotel, Unilever, Beja Paints, Stanbic IBTC, Bua Cement, and Nigerian breweries. And some of these results actually met market expectation. At least over 70% of this result market expectation. We expect this week to be dominated by investors taking position in tickers with good Q1 result. As number of results will also be announced this week. First quarter is also winding down. We are likely to see results also coming to the market. This also may result to the upward trend or bullish market for the week. NGX all-share index is likely to test above the current all-time high of 225,000 basis points. We are looking at 230,000 basis points because there's still room for growth. While we also encourage all lead investors to also download our general stock recommendation and a morning insight for their weekly investment decision and take advantage of the current extension of the world trading hour. In terms of the outlook for the week, we are believing that this week the bull is going to display BS in most of the trading days, leading to the positive market closure. Because some results are still coming to come and hit the market, investors will take advantage of those good results to buy undervalued stock to what? To also gather. So with this, we have come to the end of today's presentation. I think it's time for Q&A. The floor is open for those who wants to come and the equities market presentation. Thank you, Mr. John Olayemi. Thank you, the capital team. Any basis for placing Bua Cement from sell to hold? Yes. I think I mentioned that in the course of presentation. We saw their result in the course of last week. They've been able to grow their earnings by over 50%. That's for the Q1, from 2 naira 5 kobo to over 5 naira. That's almost 100%. So there's need for us to change the recommendation because when earnings grows and the basis and the valuation will also change. So we change it to the hold and then we'll do a thorough analysis and a thorough history of the result and then come back to the house. But for now, we want investors to place it on hold. Please, can you recommend 2-3 sectors and any stock under this sector to buy? There are other sectors you can buy. The leading sectors in the markets in the Nigerian economy, we have the telecom, we have the consumer, we have the banking, we also have the what? We have the industrial. And then reasons to buy them. If you look at the GDP growth rate that was released in the quarter 4 of 2025, over 4.07%. These sectors I've actually mentioned, they are MTN. Other the industrial, you have the likes of Lafarge, you have the Dangote Cement, you have the likes of Nascon, PZ, and Unilever. And because these are the sector that's really driving the Nigerian economy, and they all go agriculture. If you look at agricultural sector for over 4%, so it's also one of the reasons why you also need to invest in that sector. So those who have mentioned, you can take advantage and consider leading companies in those sectors in the capital recommendation to take your position. While other banking stock corporate results are not out, they need to go through regulatory approval because of the capitalization. The central bank made the apex authority in that industry. They need to do a thorough analysis, verify the sources of the fund for that capitalization. So they are doing two together, verifying auditing their result for the 2025, also verifying their recapitalization plan. That's one of the reasons. But anytime soon, we're likely to see this result. We saw UBA coming last week. So it's not about invading. Okay, somebody is also asking, why is your take on UBA possibility of paying dividends? I think they said in their results, in their audited account, that they will not pay dividends. But that is not the first time that is going to happen. Fidelity Bank had similar issue when they had issue with one Ibadan-based company relating to the court order. First Bank, they have actually cleaned their balance sheet. Looking at the result, the result is not looking bad because of the provision for the loan, bad loans, and the exchange losses. But looking at the result and the interest income made from the core banking subscription, and then what they have actually made from the other volume subsidiaries, I think the bank is also positioned for strong performance in the other quarters. There's no panic selling, and then they may not pay dividends from what we have seen from that results. I heard UBA final report has been released. Was any dividends declared? No dividends. What we have seen from that result. If there are any further clarification, I think we were likely to get that this week. But from what we have seen from that result, they may not pay dividends. Is there any problem with LeadTrader app? Sorry, please. Is there a problem with LeadTrader app? As all the buy trade I placed last week was not fulfilled, even when market rates I could not say the offer. Mr. Olayinka Agbola, good morning. Our IT team, they were looking into it. I think other clients also traded on the app last week. I think maybe probably there's some likely effect of the trading hour extension on the stock prices, where we are likely to say that impacting positively in our market because there is room for people to take more position. We are also aligned with the global standards. So once any information in the market, investors will be able to take advantage of that, and then they'll be able to buy into their portfolio. But the good thing is that it's good that we have longer trading hours now, around 7 hours, as against 4 hours we used to join before. If you look at other stock exchanges that we also talked about globally, they are also trading between 7 hours and 8.5 hours on daily gradually. That will also give foreign investors to be able to take advantage of the market because of different time zones. It's the light of UBA release. I think I've talked about the UBA. They may not declare dividends, and similar thing happened in the First Bank. Insurance sector, what is happening? They are still struggling because of recapitalization. But we see insurance companies that have a bigger balance sheet, like NEM Insurance. We've seen strong position taking around those insurance companies. The cost needs to be clearer for investors to be able to take position because they need to meet the 31st of July 2026. By the time that happens, Nikon will satisfy those that are fully recapitalized, and then people can now look at insurance companies that they can withstand the test of time, and then before you see bad interest around that. That's why that index has been done over time. I think thank you for wonderful presentation. Regarding UBA result and field one, what do you recommend? If you look at our recommendation for this week, there's no panic selling. We place it on buy, and we place it on hold for this week because we are also working with the results. And we also do not want investors also lose money. But more important, start selling, because that actually happened when First Bank results hit the market. We saw a lot of sell-off. In fact, it came down to around 38 to 43. And if you check our recommendation at that time, we placed it on hold, later on sell. And when the cost became clearer, we also changed it. And the First Bank traded almost 78. So there's no panic selling. So because the stock will still bounce back. So let's just place it on hold. Is there further clarification within the week? In our next Monday presentation, we're going to give you a better clarification and judgment and the action. But for now, place it on hold. That's the best investment strategy for this week. I think we have come to after attending to most of the questions, I think we have come to the end of today's presentation. We want to thank all our value investors once again for creating time to attend this Monday, Deep Capital Monday Breakfast section. We appreciate your confidence and the trust in our company. We'll continue to meet up and exceed your expectations. Thank you once again. Do have a productive week ahead. A good morning once again, everyone. Bye for now.